Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Renegade Immortal episode number 634 based on novel. So let's start. 9 songs, 3 signs. The first song was the Heavenly Wind song. The second song was the Heavenly Tao Thunder beat. The third song was the Origin Cloud Flute. This Origin Cloud Flute came from the white clouds that appeared in the golden sky. It would echo through the sky, and when it entered your mind, it would make you relax as if you wanted to sleep. When Wang Lin stepped onto the 240th step, this flute sound appeared in the sky. This flute was wondrous and was not something a living thing could create. It was created by the countless small holes in the clouds as the wind blew through them. It fused with the wind to create an extremely wondrous song. The thunder was like a drum and perfectly fused with the wind song. This song would make one lose themselves. Xian Luo immersed himself in the song and closed his eyes. On the 4 pillars, as the 4 grey-robed men silently listened to the music, memories rippled in their minds. At the top of the tower, a sigh came out of the fog. Wang Lin stood on the 240th step and also listened to the song of the wind, thunder, and clouds. The song surrounded his origin soul and body with a feeling of warmth and slowly nourished them. All the injuries he had received from walking up the steps began to recover thanks to this song. Even more celestial and ancient power fused, but it still didn't move. After a long time, there was a flash of light in Wang Lin's eyes. He raised his foot and slowly walked up. His expression was no longer fierce, but calm. His eyes were no longer bloodshot and he calmly walked forward. The golden sky was the light, the black earth was the road, the thunder was the drum, the wind was the rhythm, and the wind was the flute. All of these accompanied Wang Lin as he steadily walked up to the 250th step. The moment his foot landed, an extra sound appeared. It was like the sound of rain hitting the ground. The sound of rain echoed through the world and mixed with the cloud flute. The song became even more wondrous, as if there was a hidden sense of vitality within it. Xian Luo opened his eyes at this moment. He looked at Wang Lin and took a deep breath. With his cultivation level and identity, he normally would not show much shock. However, the 4 songs Wang Lin had triggered set off a wave in his emotions. Xian Luo's gaze passed Wang Lin and moved onto the tower as he silently thought to himself, Grand Empyrean Gu Dao. You didn't approve of his existence, but now I wonder what you think. Or if my disciple who possessed the soul blood, Wang Lin, will recognize your existence. The top of the tower was still silent, and after the sigh, the figure had closed his eyes. He seemed to be immersed in the song, and his face revealed a hint of melancholy and reminiscence. Wang Lin paused slightly on the 250th step. After hearing the sound of the rain, he immersed himself in it for a few moments before he went up again. On the 260th step, Wang Lin heard the sound of the sky. This sound was very mysterious. The sky was silent, but at this moment, a soft murmur came like a whisper from the sky. It fused with wind, thunder, cloud, and rain songs. The moment this song appeared, the little fusion of celestial and ancient powers began to show signs of movement as the pressure from the mountain increased. However, its speed was very slow, and it was unknown how long it would take to complete one cycle. Wang Lin was not anxious. Thanks to the 5 songs, he felt very calm inside and outside of his body, as if he had infinite power. The soul blood inside Wang Lin's body showed signs of melting. This was the soul blood that Xian Luo had asked Grand Empyrean Gu Dao to awaken but was refused. Wang Lin silently walked forward and walked past the steps. When his foot fell on the 270th step, all the essences in Wang Lin's body suddenly melted. At this moment, there was not a single essence inside Wang Lin's body, but there was silver light inside his eyes. With this silver light, his eyes became silver. There was no emotion in his eyes, they were very cold. Even his black pupils had become silver. When the silver eyes appeared, an unspeakable aura spread out from Wang Lin's body. This was the aura Xian Luo felt back in the cave world. It felt like everything was going to be destroyed. After this aura appeared, Xian Luo revealed a complicated expression. Among the 9 songs and 3 signs, the silver eyes is the one thing in common. The ancient ancestors' 9 songs can make one's eyes become silver, and the second of the 3 signs is these eyes. The 4 grey-robed men on the pillars withdrew their gazes from the sky and once again looked at Wang Lin. They looked at Wang Lin's silver eyes with confusion. This confusion was like a black hole, as if their minds had been devoured. It was as if they had a strange attraction toward these silver eyes. As for the figure inside the fog, after pondering for a long time, he said something that echoed throughout the world. 9 songs, 3 signs. In your body, there are 5 songs and 2 signs. Come up. If you can make it up to the 300th step, I'll awaken your soul blood and summon you to see you. This voice was still cold. Wang Lin stood on the 270th step and didn't respond to the cold voice at all. He raised his foot and walked up once more. When he reached the 280th step, Wang Lin's ancient power suddenly melted. When it melted, another song was added to the 5 songs. This was the song of the earth. The black earth let out a desolate funeral song. It was unknown how this funeral song had appeared, but it was clear. This sad song mourned the deaths of the people who were buried. When it mixed with the song of the sky, it was like a mixture of life and death. Along with the songs of the wind, cloud, thunder, and rain, it created a grand song. 9 songs, 3 signs. I have heard of it too. Now 6 songs and 2 signs have appeared, Wang Lin silently pondered. He felt his essences and ancient power melt. They didn't disappear, but fused with his body on an even deeper level. He could feel the sliver of the new force that was born after his celestial and ancient powers fused. However, it moved very slowly, perhaps it would take years, or even decades, to complete one cycle. He silently raised his foot and resisted the power of Mount Gu Dao to step onto the 281st step. He walked up step by step, and when he reached the 290th step, he felt the power inside his body move slightly faster. At the same time, he felt the existence of the essences and ancient power that had disappeared. They existed inside his origin soul and internal organs. His essences existed inside his origin soul and his ancient power was inside his internal organs. They seemed to have fused and also seemed like they didn't, but they were very different from before. And when Wang Lin stepped onto the 290th step, another song appeared after the first 6 songs. However, outsiders could not hear this song. Only Wang Lin could hear it because it came from his body. This song was the song of his body. When he looked up, moved his arms, lifted his feet, breathed, and his pores opened and closed, he created this sound. It was the sound of his body. These sounds were very subtle, but at this moment, they fused with the song outside. It condensed around Wang Lin into a song that surrounded him. This is the 7th song. Wang Lin listened to it for a moment and then suddenly looked up. He revealed a fierce gaze and stared at the tower at the top of the mountain. You said that I can't pass the 300th step. Wang Lin lifted his feet and climbed 10 steps to reach the 300th step. The moment he stood on the 300th step, the confusion in the eyes of 2 of the grey-robed men on the 4 pillars disappeared and was replaced with coldness as if they had recovered. As the coldness filled their eyes, they both moved and took a step forward. They rushed toward Wang Lin like lightning. They instantly closed in and each threw a punch. The punches contained a grey fog, and there was a giant head inside each one. The head seemed mad and let out silent roars as they charged at Wang Lin. Popping sounds echoed inside Wang Lin's body. This sound was like a heartbeat, but it was the 8th song formed by Wang Lin's internal organs. Internal organs song. This was the contraction of his lungs, the beating of his heart, the vibrations of his spleen, the quivering of his liver, and the jumps of his kidney. The sounds of the 5 internal organs fused to form this song. It crossed with his body song, fused with wind, cloud, thunder, and rain, and finally entangled with life and death to cause all 8 songs to erupt. The moment the 8 songs echoed at the same time, Wang Lin's ancient power inside his internal organs spread throughout his flesh and blood. At the same time, his essences inside his origin soul spread out through his meridians. When these 2 powers spread out and regathered for the first time inside Wang Lin's body, they fused on a large scale. A large amount of this fused power cycled through Wang Lin's body at an unimaginable speed. A cycle that should have taken decades to complete was completed in an instant. This power that didn't belong to the Celestials or Ancients completed a cycle, and Wang Lin let out a roar. Scram! His voice was not loud and was not heaven-shaking. However, when it appeared, a pressure no weaker than that of Mount Gu Dao came from Wang Lin. This pressure was enough to shock anyone who felt it. It has to be said that Mount Gu Dao's pressure came from Grand Empyrean Gu Dao, the #1 most powerful person on the immortal astral continent. However, the pressure Wang Lin gave off was comparable to that of Grand Empyrean Gu Dao. The meaning of this was enough to terrify anyone. As he roared, the entire mountain began to tremble. Dirt flew off the mountain as if the mountain was going to collapse. The two grey-robed people fused into one person and threw a punch at him. The head formed by the grey fog around the fist let out a harsh cry when it was 30 feet from Wang Lin. The head was swept by a violent wind and dissipated into nothing. The punch formed by the two overlapping grey-robed men suddenly collapsed. The moment the punch collapsed, the figure seemed to be knocked back by a powerful force and split into two people. They coughed out blood and their eternally calm expressions revealed looks of disbelief. After they coughed out blood, they still could not stop and continued to fly back. They were pushed back more than 10,000 feet by Wang Lin's roar. Mount Gu Dao rumbled, and from the tower at the peak, a large, black hand came out. It swept down like the wind and became thousands of feet large. It was like a black, five-finger mountain smashing down on Wang Lin. This five-finger mountain collided with Wang Lin's celestial and ancient fusion power. A thunderous roar echoed and the black five-finger mountain trembled violently before it was knocked back. It dissipated into the sky. At the same time, Wang Lin's body trembled and his fused power split back into celestial and ancient. The wisp of fused power began to move toward a second cycle, but it was very slow and looked like it would need decades to complete another full cycle. Xian Luo saw this and gasped. Inside the tower, the figure pondered for a moment and then a cold voice came out. "Come up, I'll awaken the soul blood for you." Wang Lin's face was pale as he stood on the 300th step. He didn't speak but raised his foot to take one more step. When his foot fell on the 301st step, the soul blood inside his body suddenly melted and fused with his body completely. He no longer needed Grand Empyrean Gu Dao's help to make the soul blood fuse with his body. The bloodline inheritance gradually revealed itself. Standing there, Wang Lin silently pondered and clasped his hands toward the top of Mount Gu Dao. "Thanks, Grand Empyrean Gu Dao, for helping me." Wang Lin was not a reckless person. The gap between him and Gu Dao was very large. Even if Gu Dao meant for him to leave after 300 steps, he still buried his indifference toward Gu Dao and said goodbye. Moreover, he was able to fuse his ancient and celestial power because of the pressure from Gu Dao. Perhaps it was an accident, or perhaps this was Gu Dao's silent acknowledgement. However, no matter what, Wang Lin understood that Grand Empyrean Gu Dao was the strongest person on the immortal astral continent, so he needed to show respect. After a long time, Grand Empyrean's cold voice came out of the tower. "You can rest assured, I have said that if you can pass the 300th step, you can leave. Now that you've passed, you can leave." It was as if Grand Empyrean Gu Dao was pondering before he said those words. Wang Lin no longer spoke but walked down the mountain. When he arrived next to Xian Luo, he saw the hidden ripples around Xian Luo. It was obvious if Gu Dao had gone back on his words, Xian Luo would have acted. "Teacher," Wang Lin said softly. Xian Luo's action caused warmth to appear on the cracks he had with the ancient clan. "Let's go." Xian Luo looked at Wang Lin profoundly and buried the shock from the 8 songs and 2 signs. He waved his sleeve and flew into the distance with Wang Lin. It wasn't until he disappeared from the end of the horizon that the 2 injured grey-robed men returned to the pillar. They looked at the distance with complicated expressions and then closed their eyes to cultivate. After a long time, a sigh came from the tower. The figure inside the fog stood up and walked next to the window. He looked into the sky, and his gaze seemed to fall in the direction of Xian Luo and Wang Lin. Xian Luo brought Wang Lin back to the ancient Dao imperial city after a few days. They returned to the mountain behind the ancient Dao temple and settled down. Xian Luo didn't ask about what had happened back at Mount Jiu Dao, and Wang Lin didn't explain, as if nothing had happened. A month passed, and it was as if everything had disappeared like smoke. During this month, Wang Lin had entered closed-door cultivation inside the wooden house. Before the trip to Mount Jiu Dao, he had gone to a lot of places and absorbed a lot of essences. The power of his essences had increased a lot and his cultivation had improved even more. The essences and ancient power seemed to return to their normal positions during this month. The essences returned to their essence true body forms and the ancient power reverted back to the 27 stars. They seemed ordinary, but only Wang Lin knew that with one thought, he could make them fuse again and gain a short eruption of power. This power and pressure was comparable to Mount Jiu Dao. As his essences and ancient power increased, the duration of the fusion would become longer and longer. Until one day, when he could fully integrate them and they would not just be a short fusion, he would have power equal to Grand Empyrean Jiu Dao. Right now, the wisp of the fusion power was slowly cycling through his body. It looked like it would take a long time for it to complete a cycle. On this day, Wang Lin opened his eyes from cultivation and his eyes lit up. He waved his right hand and a cylinder appeared in his grasp. After pondering for a moment, he opened the cylinder and there was some liquid that contained pure wood essence inside. He took out one drop and fused it into his body. The drop suddenly disappeared, and at the same time, the power of Wang Lin's wood essence increased greatly. After 3 days, when Wang Lin fused with another drop, his wood essence was rapidly approaching an essence true body. After less than half a month, when all the liquid in the cylinder was absorbed, Wang Lin was still sitting there. An overlapping image appeared and his 5-element true body walked out and stood before him. The 5-element true body remained the same and stood before Wang Lin, emitting 5 colors. The colors that represented wood and metal were dimmer than the other 3. However, the color that represented wood gradually became brighter until a few days later, when it reached the same degree as water, fire, and earth. The 5-element true body trembled and 4 figures and a ball of light appeared. Among the 4 figures, aside from water, fire, and earth, was Wang Lin's wood essence true body. At the center of the 4 essence true bodies was a ball of golden light. This was the metal essence, and it hadn't formed an essence true body yet. Wang Lin opened his eyes and looked at the ball of golden light, revealing a troubled expression. A moment later, he revealed a decisive gaze and waved his hand. A golden fragment appeared. This fragment was the sword fragment Wang Lin was given by Zhu Di on the long street. He had refined it but had not fully integrated it yet. He was going to use the metal essence he had absorbed while he was with Xian Luo, along with this fragment, to complete his 5-element true body. Once his metal essence formed an essence true body, then the power of his 5-element true body would increase greatly. It would also help determine if his deduction about his future cultivation path was correct. The 5-element true body will be complete. If my cultivation level increases, then my speculation is correct. Wang Lin no longer hesitated and spat out a mouthful of golden gas. It surrounded the golden sword fragment. Time passed. In a flash, another month went by. It had been 2.5 months since Wang Lin and Xian Luo returned. Wang Lin had stayed inside the wooden house and hadn't stepped out. Xian Luo had come twice and stood outside the wooden house, observing. He knew Wang Lin was condensing his essences and was in no danger, so he left. On this morning, when the first ray of sunlight fell from the sky onto the earth and dispelled the darkness, causing warmth to fill this garden, a jade flew over from the direction of the ancient Dao temple. It circled around the wooden house a few times before it fell down on the grass outside the house. However, a moment later, the jade trembled and flew into the house. It was caught by Wang Lin, who was sitting inside the wooden house. His divine sense swept past the jade. It was a message jade. There wasn't much inside, it was just an invitation. The ancient Dao Emperor will hold the ceremony to title his Empress in 10 days, Wang Lin's expression remained the same. This jade came from the ancient Dao Emperor to invite Wang Lin to the ceremony. Since this jade could be sent here, then it must have obtained the recognition of teacher. Then this ceremony must be very important to the ancient Tao. Wang Lin pondered. This ancient Tao emperor has been choosing a concubine for hundreds of years, and now he finally chose one and is going to title her as his empress. Should I go or not? Wang Lin had reached the critical moment of fusing with his metal essence, so he didn't want to go to this so-called empress title ceremony. Wang Lin put down the invitation jade and no longer considered this matter. After all, compared to the ancient Tao emperor's empress title ceremony, his cultivation was more important. The metal essence true body will be able to form in these next few days. When the 5-element true body is complete, I will be able to verify if my speculation is correct. Wang Lin revealed a hint of worry. If he remained at the late stage of void turbulent after his 5-element true body was complete, then his deduction would be wrong. Once he failed, Wang Lin would have to give up forming essence true bodies for the other essences and focus on comprehending the 4th ethereal essence after life and death, karma, and true and false. However, ethereal essences were a complete blur and completely relied on opportunity and insight. Perhaps he could obtain it in a few years, or not find any clue in thousands of years. This made Wang Lin look at the metal essence with a hint of worry and anticipation. After a long time, Wang Lin let out a sigh and withdrew his gaze from the metal essence. He had done all he could. Whether his cultivation would increase or not, he would have his answer in a few days. Wang Lin's eyes opened slightly. After pondering a bit, he waved his sleeve. Light shined in the wooden house and a restriction slowly turned. It made no sound, and from outside, no light spread out. Wang Lin stepped into the formation and disappeared. In the earth below the formation, a large cave was opened about 100,000 feet below the wooden house. This cave had appeared not long ago. Wang Lin had created it on the 5th day of his closed-door cultivation. This cave was thousands of feet large and was filled by a black and white sun. At the center floated a giant black and white sun. Although it was only an outline, it was indeed Wang Lin's Grand Empyrean sun. Under the Grand Empyrean sun, there was a 1,000-foot tall head. It had no eyes or ears and there was a deep crack on its scalp. This was the celestial ancestor's head. Wang Lin had placed countless restrictions around this cave. With his current cultivation level, these restrictions were extremely powerful. Forget Empyrean exalts, not even Ascendant Empyreans could sense them. Even Grand Empyreans would find it difficult to detect them unless they looked carefully. This was because these restrictions contained Wang Lin's fusion of celestial and ancient power. He had extracted a bit and combined it with the restrictions to give them this powerful effect. Wang Lin's figure appeared next to the celestial ancestor's head. He had created this space to nourish his Grand Empyrean sun. Based on his analysis, once his Grand Empyrean sun completely fused with the celestial ancestor's head, the Grand Empyrean sun would become solid. He sat down before the celestial ancestor's head and spat out a wisp of green gas. The green gas entered the head and the celestial ancestor's head trembled. It released large amounts of golden light that was immediately absorbed by the sun above. It turned into black and white light that nourished this sun. During this 3-month time period, his Grand Empyrean sun had been absorbing the celestial ancestor's head, but how could it be refined so easily? It would be difficult to fully absorb it in a short period of time. After pondering for a bit, Wang Lin opened his eyes and raised his right hand. His hand reached at the void and a dark golden light spread out from his palm. There was a weak soul with its eyes closed in Wang Lin's hand. Although Wang Lin looked calm, but his pupils shrank and he became serious. This weak soul was the Celestial Emperor, Lian Daoshan. The Celestial Emperor, who had been captured by Wang Lin, was in a sorry state. He trembled in Wang Lin's hand as if he wanted to open his eyes, but he had no strength left. However, his body gave off a powerful celestial energy that would make anyone recognize that this was the pressure of a Grand Empyrean. Although this pressure belonged to a Grand Empyrean, the celestial energy was not pure, it was extremely chaotic and exuded a sense of defeat. It seemed like the soul was suffering great pain right now. What a powerful ancestral curse, Wang Lin muttered to himself. Wang Lin continued to place seals on the Celestial Emperor's soul. With his cultivation level and power, along with the Celestial Emperor's own power, they still could not expel the ancestral curse. However, he was able to reach a balance so the soul would not dissipate. I originally intended to use the pressure from this soul to help fuse my celestial and ancient powers by force, but now it looks like there is no need. However, this is the soul of the Celestial Emperor, it's still very useful to me. Wang Lin pondered as he looked at his own Grand Empyrean son. Unfortunately, the ancestral curse is too strong. If I could expel the curse, I could fuse his soul into my Grand Empyrean son and use it as a guide to devour the celestial ancestor's head by force. Wang Lin's left hand touched his chin and he pondered. Then his eyes lit up and his left hand formed a seal. When he was done, he pointed at the soul in his right hand. The Celestial Emperor's soul suddenly trembled when Wang Lin pointed at him. He opened his mouth and let out a silent howl. The restrictions around the cave began to flash. Wang Lin's expression was very serious as his left hand pointed at the Celestial Emperor's soul. After a long time, a trace of grey gas gathered and was slowly pulled out by Wang Lin. When his left hand had completely risen, the grey gas around his finger suddenly turned into an evil ghost-like shadow. It opened its mouth and charged at Wang Lin's finger. However, just as it going to devour Wang Lin's finger, Wang Lin's eyes narrowed and his pupils became silver. The silver light fell on this ghost and it suddenly trembled as if it were afraid. It then quickly shrank to half its original size. Wang Lin grabbed it and mercilessly squeezed. The grey gas dissipated. Wang Lin's forehead was covered in sweat and the silver light in his eyes dissipated. He revealed a bitter smile. The fusion of the celestial and ancient powers can remove the ancestral curse. However, with my current cultivation level, I can't last for long and can't expel the ancestral curse all at once. Wang Lin looked at the Celestial Emperor's soul. The sliver of ancestral curse he had removed had recovered. With a sigh, Wang Lin waved his right hand and put the Celestial Emperor's soul away. He sat there, pondering, for a long time and let out a sigh in the end. It looks like I need to wait for my cultivation level to rise so I can maintain the fused power for longer to dispel the ancestral curse and fuse it with my Grand Empyrean son. This ancestral curse is strange and the Celestial Emperor's identity is special, so it's not convenient to ask teacher Xian Luo to help. Wang Lin had his own secrets, and unless it was absolutely necessary, he had the habit of not letting anyone know. Wang Lin put the Celestial Emperor's soul away and waved his right hand to take out a jade. This jade was gifted to him by Prince Jidu and contained the power of one finger from the ancient ancestor. When Wang Lin had obtained this jade, he could not study it, as there seemed to be a barrier that blocked him, preventing him from seeing inside. He could only use it as a one-time spell. However, now he had melted the soul blood inside his body and had gained some fragmented memories. He could feel these memories but not look through them. It was obvious he didn't have enough soul blood. Holding the jade, Wang Lin looked at it. There was a blurry figure inside, and the figure was moving inside an equally blurry world. As the figure trembled, the world shattered and disappeared. It was a very simple illusion, but because it was blurry, it was very difficult to comprehend. Wang Lin had looked at it several times before, and it was always like this. This time was the same, but he was not discouraged. He closed his eyes, and after a long time, when he reopened them, silver light appeared in his eyes once more. The silver light occupied his entire eyes, and his gaze was very cold. Wang Lin looked at the jade once more, and under his gaze, the blurry figure appeared once more. However, because Wang Lin's mind contained those memories, some of the memories linked together and appeared in his mind when he saw the blurry figure. This was a man wearing a grey robe, and he had long hair. He looked exactly the same as the statue in the ancient Tao Imperial City. It was the ancient ancestor. His left hand was behind him and he was floating in the sky. He was looking at the sky with contempt and disdain in his eyes, seeming aloof. As he looked at the sky, there were groups of black dots closing in. These black dots were groups of fierce beasts. These beasts had the heads of humans but the bodies of lions. They only had two front limbs, the hind limbs and tail seemed to have morphed into fish tails. As they flew over, they let out sharp roars. The powerful one in front gave off a powerful aura that was close to that of a Grand Empyrean. However, the grey-robed man still looked at them with contempt. He raised his right hand and pointed forward. When he did this, the world trembled. Everything within 100,000 kilometers of these beasts seemed to separate from the world. Then the top and bottom of this separated world squeezed together. Thunderous rumble echoed. When the separated world squeezed, all the beasts shattered. With a bang, a crack appeared in the jade in Wang Lin's hand and the jade split in half. The two halves fell to the ground and turned to dust. Wang Lin became sober and the silver in his eyes dissipated, but his eyes were bright. What a powerful point from the ancient ancestor. This video will end here.